just so much energy and positivity, not just on the field.
He had really stood up and protected his players during the week when they were under fire.
It's a great phrase. You can't win big until you remove the fear of losing. I think other than Joe Hayes, Steve Borthwick could have taken every single England player off early. The most enthusiastic ball boy ever. I thought Finn Russell was absolute class. Yeah. No one stops LBB. 8 games on the trot he scored in the Six Nations. It's like pinning jelly to a wall.
Green Sunday evening. France-Italy just finished.
Yeah.
Here we are. Pizza, beer, picking through the bones of round 3, Six Nations.
Yeah.
And there are a few bones to pick through. Let's start with England's bones. I was sitting watching the game with a young 13-year-old Mr. Dawson's son, and it was really interesting.
Matt Dawson.
Yeah. It was really interesting sitting with him, just seeing the game through a lad's eyes like that. And his words to me midway through the second half, he said, "This is embarrassing." So I suppose I'd love your reaction to I guess that sense or that feeling that I think quite a few England fans were probably feeling yesterday.
Yeah, so we'll go back to Dorsey's lad in a sec, because look, as always, being Anglo-centric, we got to start with Ireland in terms of how they performed. As much pressure on them as England were. It felt like whoever lost was out of the championship, and that's clear. England now 250 to win the championship. Their championship is gone. Ireland was stodgy the week before in the first half against Italy. Bookmakers don't tend to give money away, and we're offering 4-1 on their win at Twickenham. They had been battered in Paris, had struggled to overcome Italy at home, lacked fluency, lacked pace, and then pulled out one of those performances which are from the gods, from the heavens. Individually, we could go through virtually all 15 of them, well, all 23 of them, and say how strong they were in terms of their impact on the game. I love my history, and I went back to Under Pressure, the great leaders go to their tightest, most loyal, most battlefield reliable humans on the planet. Caesar had his 10th legion. After that, the Caesars, started by August, had the Praetorian Guard. Alexander the Great had his companions. If you were an Ottoman sultan, you had your janissaries, and Napoleon had his old guard. And they were human beings that a leader, just under pressure, wanted alongside him. And the pack he picked were his Trojans that had just done so much for him for so long. They were word perfect. McCarthy and Ryan battered us. The physicality that Doris gave in the midfield, the sharpness of mind and movement. There's so much to admire about it. Jameson Gibson Park was as good as Dupont. Crowley at 10, under all that pressure, came back and delivered. We talked about it in the car park. McCloskey's now my favourite 12. I'm doing something I said I wouldn't do. I'm listing literally every single one. Tommy O'Brien off the bench. He was my one to watch at the start of the tournament. He comes off the bench. He was magnificent. Scores up the left-hand side. There was just so much energy and positivity, not just on the field. Love it. I love managers and coaches who celebrate, and every time they scored, they're in, they're fist pumping, and they're up on their feet, and that passion that you so want from the English team that was so lacking on the pitch. And we'll get to England, and we're so desperately in need of when we go to Italy. We've got to stop trying to be perfect and deliver a Petri dish performance. It's just play for England. And play for your careers, which is play for your reputations, which is what a lot of them will be doing in Italy. So Ireland, and we'll come back to little bits and pieces that they did and where they put us under pressure, but they were magnificent. They have Wales and Scotland at home still to come, so I think they can get to 19 points. I don't think it will be enough to turn France over, who are now already on 15. But anyone who thought Ireland were an ageing side, you now see that I think he clearly age is a number, and clearly they are of a certain vintage. I think Farrell will have to use them wisely in the next 18 months and understand that if I can get performances out of that in the big ones, can I build the depth of the squad and the quality of the squad to be able to just wheel these superhumans out for the big occasions, because they were outstanding. Then to move on to England.
Before we move on to England, can I just pick up on Farrell there, because I think that he deserves a bit more of a chat, actually, because I was listening to Donegal Callaghan talking about Farrell after the game, and saying that he had really stood up and protected his players during the week when they were under fire, almost spoke as a fatherly figure to the nation, saying, look, we've got to look after these lads. The criticism that's coming in is unfair, and he really stood up for them, and it felt like those boys performed for that man. I mean,
it's exactly how Alex Ferguson was, how Guardiola is. At the back end of Fergie's career, he started throwing boots around in change rooms, and Beckham and it just. But in his pomp, all the great managers, whatever sport it is, you are fiercely defensive of your charges. He was a warrior on the field. The way he protected Sam Prendergast, who's still going to be a great player for Ireland, but just needed to be taken away from the limelight this week after a couple of poor performances. But it was a collectively poor performance for the past couple of weeks. It wasn't just Sam. Actually, his post-match interview I thought was really interesting, and it's something I really admire. And look, I know it's much lower down, and I try and very careful how I say this, because I just admired it and just thought it was just brilliant. I didn't care if we won or lost, he said in his post-match. I just wanted the lads to build, to be proud of themselves. And I'm paraphrasing the second, but I can't quite get his exact words. But when you remove the fear of losing, it's a great phrase. You can't win big until you remove the fear of losing. Because it will always hold you back. And then when you get in front, you'll think, now I've got to protect it. Actually, if you don't worry about the next passage of play, if you've knocked it on or whatever, you just go, right, leave it behind. And we've talked, I think last year we talked about it, Tiger Woods. If he hit a bad shot, he gave himself 15 seconds to be cross and then parked it. And then it wasn't. Scotty Scheffler makes an error. Honestly, the next shot he plays after he'd hit it in the water, you would have no idea. Most of us are throwing golf clubs into the pond, following in, ranting, raving, walking off. And that's Farrell's calmness. And he was like that for the Warriors, Wigan Warriors, for so many years. And he's like that now as a manager. And
he's also got that fire, though. I mean, for me, the moment of the weekend, I think from a visual perspective, was watching Farrell's reaction to Marcus Smith being caught by McCluskey, and the punch of the air and the passion that was shown there. You know, I don't know. It just felt a real connection.
Yeah,
and I thought
it's authentic,
he's the man.
Right? It's authentic. It's vulnerable. It's heart on sleeve.
Yeah.
And I know there's a train of thought that says, "Oh no, managers must show no emotion, must just sit there and be calm." I think as a player, you want to look up and go, especially if he is that fatherly figure or parental figure. It reminds me when you're 8, and I don't think it would have been any different. I think as an Irish player, you make that tackle, you look up and see how's the boss reacting to that. So, look, I could talk for hours on how good Ireland were in so many different aspects of the game. But we need to move on to England. And I promise you, this isn't, you might sound prone to hyperbole. I've been working in sport and writing for a newspaper for 20 odd years and working for Sky. I've never written so many notes on a game, because I go back to you're talking about the human being that is Farrell. I'm now going to talk about some of the players, and I got dropped and my old man got sacked, and it was hard for parents to listen to stuff if they are listening to this. So I've always viewed it in one particular aspect. I use it, everything. It has to pass the mum test. Now I think because there's much more equal parenting, I think it has to pass the parent test. Is anything I'm going to say, or would I say everything I'm going to say now in front of the players' parents? And if you're going to say that and you're going to critique players, you need to do your homework. So I've never made 8 pages of notes on one game. I hope we get a chance to cover some of it. The headlines. I mean, the headlines are. I think Steve Borthwick could have taken so did have certain times front rows come off after 50 minutes, second rows come off after 60 minutes. Your scrum half probably comes on. Sometimes if you're a 6-2 split, you might leave till 60. If it's a 5-3 split, you come off after 50. So it's quite regimented, really.
Yeah.
So I think other than Joe Hayes, Steve Borthwick could have taken every single England player off early. I think there's an argument to say that other than Joe Hayes, not one of them looked like a Test player, an England Test player. And I'm really careful to say that. And I went through it and I thought, do you know what, maybe X or Y. And I go back to it and I go, no, honestly, if you're picking a combined 15, there's only one in the conversation. Joe Hayes is the only one in the conversation.
Yeah.
And the error count, I mean, we had 8 errors in the first 11 minutes. Some was Ireland pressure, but most of it unforced errors. And that's pressure. That's a team with a heavy shirt on, with a fear of losing, with a lack of, I'd not say lack of clarity, just what must be an instability of mind to be able just to play naturally. Because other than the scrum, I mean, the headlines are error count was a joke, defence was woeful, breakdown we got eviscerated at, the line-out fell apart, we lost the aerial battle, we lost every single physical... Sorry, that's my first exaggeration. We didn't lose every single physical contact. We lost the physical battle. They looked far more comfortable on the ball. Under pressure, our shapes fell apart, and we had no threat. Now, from there, you pick any one of those. I'll give you a minute.
Can I?
I'll tell you.
Can I pick up on one thing that we said? So I saw Matt Dawson at half time, and it's the first time both of us have ever talked like this. We actually said it looks like our lads have had food poisoning or something. I mean, we look so down on energy, and sort of the basic ability to. We were like,
and the flip
feels like there's something wrong, almost something wrong there, and but you're.
And the flip side of it was McCarthy had the game, all their players. So this is what pressure does to you. We completely shrank. All their players that were under pressure. I thought Joe McCarthy should have been a starting line last year. And then his foot was unbelievable. Ryan was running around and clattering people, bringing Van der Fleer back in, gave them that balance in the back row. Conan went to the bench. They had was a Chukwu in the back row last week. This week it was Byrne, Doris, Van der Fleer, supremely balanced. It had Jedis in different particular aspects, and they all rose. And the heart of it was you want to call him the lead singer, the rhythm maker was Jameson Gibson Park, just moving it around the field. I remember, I think we talked about it before, that Dupont's game against Italy probably 3 years ago was as close to the perfect game. Ash Carter in 2005 in a second lines test. Gibson Park yesterday, Jameson Gibson Park. That was right up there for great individual performances. So, back to England. What do you want to look at? Where do we want to start?
Well, let's start here, because I think it was, the scoreboard tells the story as well in terms of the Ireland were better in every facet of the game. But I'd like to maybe concentrate on maybe why and what England now do to try and fix it. So one of the big problems for me, and this again has been picked up in various podcasts that I've listened to in preparation for this, is who who is owning the game plan for England at the minute, right? Because when things aren't going right,
It has to be players on the field.
it has to be players on the
So
field.
then
It didn't look like there was
Yeah,
any
and-
general on the pitch that
and
was
there's a-
grabbing hold of that.
And there's a wider debate potentially about how players are being coached at a junior level and dropping into shapes and unafraid to move out of structures. And I know you sometimes dislike or you sometimes question where I'm going with certain angles. There's a brilliant series on Netflix at the moment called Queen of Chess. Have I talked about Queen of Chess before?
Queen of Chess. I'm
Talked about chess before, haven't it?
What about chess?
Queen of Chess. It's on Netflix at the moment. 30 years, the greatest female chess player of all time was a lady called Judith Polgar. She was one of 3 sisters. Her dad was Laszlo Polgar. And he talked about geniuses are made, not born. And he looked at all the great geniuses and he said, actually, I'm going to pick a discipline and I'm going to turn my 3 daughters into geniuses. And Judith Polgar eventually beat Garry Kasparov. She'd done so much work. What allowed Judith and her 2 sisters, they won the Olympiad. They beat the Russians for the first time ever. So it's in a brilliant series about how you might think it's
I'm going to watch it. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, overly authoritarian from the father, but he's made from nothing. He's picked this book. So what's my point? He has prepared his daughters, and they are then equipped to understand what to do when things change. And you think chess, it's only 64 pieces. There's only 64 squares. There's only 32 pieces. You'd think there's only so many different variables you can do. It's insane how many different variables. And they would study for hours and hours. I think England only have one move. And I think we only have one defence. And you're just looking at that and you just go, so where does the responsibility lie? Clearly on the coaching aspect, to some degree, but he doesn't get them there for the whole time that year. So they just looked so rigid, so stuck, so unable to change. A team who can't react, to understand what's going on, to go, not now, coach. What you gave us ain't working. We need to do this now. Yeah, and that's the thing that made me most disappointed. Disappointed is the wrong word. Frustrated, melancholy, walking out of Twickenham. I've never left that early ever. If you never left that, I couldn't get into my car fast enough. Needed to compose my thoughts. Needed to not get angry, because it's not about me as an old player or anything like that. I was just what I watched. Defensively, just utterly abject. So ask me another question before
I'm going to ask you this because I think, I'm maybe a little bit of a broken record, I suppose, with my views in terms of Borthwick and the way that he coaches, right? So I have felt for pretty much really since Borthwick came in that we are what I would call a paint by numbers rugby team. I feel like we are very prescriptive in terms of what we do in what areas of the pitch. And there are occasions again on Saturday where, for me, watching that game, everything that I think is backed up with what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And I think my supposition is that actually we are now a team that has been so overcoached that we are unable to actually do the thing that you're talking about, which is take accountability on the pitch, change the game plan, do something different, because we've not been given the sort of the breadth and the width to be able to do that. I
actually have a bigger worry to a degree. The script, Ireland looked like a team possessed. And some of the tackles Ringrose was making. The Balakoon, people will remember one tackle on Freeman. He made 2 of those where he covered backfield, where they were just going, okay, for mate misses, I'm going to cover, and when I cover, I'm going to clatter somewhere. Just looked back to your original point, and Dawson Jr. and Dawson Sr., so flat. And rugby, at its heart, is a feral, contact, violent sport. And if you lose emotionally and physically, then you get utterly battered. And they did. I think some of it's not chicken or egg. No, that's the very heart of it. And so I think players are playing for their reputation and their place in the team. I think the coaching staff are under a huge amount of pressure. We have South Africa on July the 4th, but before that, we've got to go to Italy and we got to go to Paris. A great team doesn't lose twice. England, therefore, by definition, are not a great team.
But not just not a great team. Let's actually be really stark about this. We've conceded 73 points in 2 games.
Yeah.
I mean, that, like, you know, we're not talking about margins of victory that are small here, that where we're in the game. In the last 2 games that we've played, personally, I feel like the game has been over at half time. Now that is that is a pretty shocking.
Yeah, so do you want to get specifics on defence, or do you worry that I go too detail?
No, I enjoy it, and other people really enjoy that detail. So maybe pick out a moment that you think encapsulates where the team is at the minute.
Well, defensively, I mean, I'll probably take you to the 19th, 20th minute, and I'd say go back to your whatever platform you've got it on and pause it sort of on 19:45, and they start. Where does it start? They start with a scrum just outside their 22 on their left-hand side, and it ends up with the Jameson Gibson Park tap, go, try. 35 seconds later, it starts with the scrum just outside their own 22 on the left-hand side, and they do a miss one play. So for those a miss one is it goes to fly half, flies out to the centre. The fullback comes short. As in, comes a short line off the centre, they go out the back and they're looking for width. And I don't know what we're doing. We end up, we don't press hard, we stand still, we give them space on the edge. We want our scrum half who starts on the short side of the scrum to run round and make a contribution. I've never seen that. I have seen that system work with scrum halves who really want to get round and make that tackle. It doesn't work for us. Freddie Stewart is worried about a 50-22, but when you pause it on 19:45 and we go wide, it ends up in Balakoon's hands on the right-hand side of the field where they've just done a simple miss out the back miss. I mean, it's like Arnold shows him the outside, which he obviously takes, but you pause it. Freddie Stewart's almost on his own goal line. Where's Freeman? Just miles, like, there's no... I know it's an old school term to say pendulum, but the pendulum in the back three, if you're playing a 13-2, a 14-1, whatever it is you play, and what I mean by that, 13 in the front line, 2 in the backfield, 14 in the front line, 1 in the backfield. Often from set pieces, you might go 12-3, so 8 in the scrum, 4, and then 3 covering 50-22s. Where I talked about Balakoon working so hard to get across, so when we stressed them on an edge, which we rarely did, but when we did, fullback closed the door early, Balakoon comes across, bang, problem over. We were so disconnected that it meant you get up and Balakoon runs up the right-hand side, passes the ball back inside to O'Brien, who must think, where is everyone? What's everyone gone? And then we have to scramble to save it. So our entire back line and back row are in the ruck on the wide ruck. When they pass it back, we have, defending our 60 metres, we have our front row and George Ford left. I mean, if you're the Irish, you're going, where's the cavalry gone? And they just go up the left-hand side, they win the contacts, bounce out of a couple of our front 5 forward tackles, penalty, tap, go, score. And I promise you, that's one example of a shambolic system that I promise you, you know, in fact, a lot of the Premiership Academy stuff was on, the under-18 stuff was on today. I don't think any Premiership Academies conceded a try from the bottom left-hand corner from that play. And that was the most frustrating thing about it. There was another one. just after that try, right? So they go up and go clear by 15. Just after that try, we go long from a restart. They run 50 metres up the middle from a restart because Chesham, who's a lion, just bites in completely unnecessarily. Van der Fleer is in behind. We actually survive because Arundel takes a mark. They go to a cross kick. So we're like, oh, Carno. He then doesn't bang it off the park. We're down to 14 men, so we don't bang it off the park. So the play's quick. It's a narrow chase. I mean, it's like a narrow chase. We kick long and narrow chase. They go out the back to get wide on us up our right-hand side. And he's obviously worried about Stewart not being on the field. He's 30 metres behind Dingwall. So they can just get to an edge. And then it's the worst bit. Then they get another phrase today. He's still deep. Dingwall bites in on Doris. Balakoon goes up a short side. You then have to get beaten on the outside, not through the middle. And then the most damning thing, when you pause it, remember Balakoon, and I talked about that, and Farrell was talking about Balakoon wanting this, and this is picking out individuals, and this is why I needed to be really careful what I said. And they were fist pumping the cover that Balakoon made and McCloskey made, and you picked it out. When they go up at our right-hand side, the Irish left-hand side, you pause it. And we have a backline, we have a full backline marking not that many people. And Arundel is up flat in the line, stood still, watching as they walk up our side and score under the post, as opposed to the pendulum. Now, the system might be he's supposed to be up there, but the system is catastrophically wrong.
Yeah.
Or where is the freedom within the system to go, we're now with 14 men, now there's danger. My fellow back three player is under threat. Our edge is under threat. We've got no Stewart. I got to work here. I got to go. You go back to their second try, the Balakoon scores. I mean, honestly, I think your friend, I think our friend, Dawes said it. It was schoolboys under 14. They get a relatively piece of quick ball. And one hard line holds four. There are three front row forwards and a centre row that were as close as those pizza slices. They were in each other's freaking pocket, right? Then Lawrence and Henry are wide, asking Jack Van Portfleet, who's come on. So he's scrambling to try and fill a hole. McCloskey goes, are you kidding me? I've got the freedom of chicken. Bursts up the middle, go right hand side. So I've not gone chronologically order in terms of try. But honestly, I could go through moment after moment after moment. And that's where, and that's my level of detail where I'm going in terms of the review. We haven't even got onto the attack yet. Where I'll bring up the same examples, not as long, but to understand they looked. So then to connect it to your point, to where's, so they're not being set up right. And then they're also not being set up right and given the authority to change it. Or, even worse, they're not good enough to change it. So any one of those three things is a complete disaster and means we go to Italy and Italy go, we can beat you.
Yeah. So I'm just going to sort of do that helicopter thing, really. Just look at you're going right into the minutiae, which I know people love. The thing that really struck me was the similarity in terms of the way that Ireland attacked when we look at Scotland, right? I mean, it felt like it was a blueprint, right? They looked at Scotland, stretch them. England do not like it when
we can't defend against pace, right, which is a terrifying thing because we've still got to go to Paris,
right?
And we still got to go to South Africa.
But the thing that worried me was how sort of predictable it felt in terms of their ability to stretch us, find space. Once they've stretched us, find space in the middle as well.
Then it sort of then comes back to we just got battered, physically.
Yes,
like where's the fight? I daren't even think. And again, I have no apologies for making it. I daren't even if I was defending like that as a backline and I walked in to that change room and I saw Phil Vickery and Martin Johnson, I'm going to the loo.
Right, I'm so pleased you've picked up on this point. So this is this is one of my gripes, okay?
But I go, and that's the last thing. You don't want to go back, but each want to go.
You don't want to go back, right? But I think I had a very privileged position. I was sitting in the comms box on Saturday.
Not as privileged as Finn Baxter.
Not as no,
well done,
that
young
was
man.
privileged,
Well
wasn't it?
done.
Yeah, well done him. So I was sitting there and I was a little bit shell shocked, and I just watched the England players because what I really wanted to study, because I'm quite into the emotion of sport.
Yeah.
I really wanted to study the way those players came off the pitch. Like, what's their feel? How are they reacting? So Tunnel was interesting, taps on the back. Obviously, a lot of the Lions lads there.
Yeah.
So I understand.
Is this before or during or half time?
No, this is after the game.
Right.
So they've been handed a hiding. Line out, Tunnel, Irish players, congratulations, lots of hugs, etc. Then I watched the England players get together, lots of hugs, a lot of smiles. A couple of the kids came on. Maro got him into a huddle. Not sure exactly what was said, but he felt like he was reading the riot act a little bit. I suppose my overall sense, though,
you can't change it after the game. So I think they come into it with that attitude. So I'll agree with you. I think what you do after the game doesn't matter. I think that we're all so different in a neurodiverse capacity that some can just switch off and just go straight into family mode and need to because of the pressures. So I get less. Actually, what happens after? What I'm more concerned about is when you're under the post. What's happening at half time? There's time for a nuclear button. There's time for a nuclear button at training on a Monday and Tuesday. I don't know who's holding themselves to account in training, how hard they're being stress tested at training. I'm not asking them to go full metal jacket, full contact training the whole time, but they can't be defending against pace with any real venom in training if that's how they then turn up on Saturday. Performing under the highest pressure, it's not like a tap. You can't just turn it on. It's repetition. Yeah. So I hear you on the last bit, but that's the only thing where I would go, actually, if you want to have your kids on the pitch, I'm not.
By the by, I'm going to pick up on one thing that you said last week because I think is really relevant to this week. You talked about great teams having a level of spikiness, right?
Yeah.
Where they really challenge each other. And again, that, from my observations, obviously limited because we're only seeing the match day scenario, is that it doesn't look like that's happening in the team at the moment. And maybe it is behind closed doors, but it doesn't. When you listen to the behind the scenes podcast, it's all harmony. And you spoke really well last week, I think, about the need for that spikiness, that challenge that great teams have, and it feels like it's needed at the minute. And is it there?
It's devoid. It's just like numbers. I mean, the scrum went okay, right? That's why Joe Hose maybe gets in the conversation, but the physicality levels of numbers 4 through 8 was painful to watch. It really was. The way they were brushed off tackles. You might say clutch and straws. There is an argument to say that at 22-7 and scoring just before half time, you might say there's a chance. And then Dorris just walks through the middle where 3 forwards are tight together. The tackle technique of some of our pack, it just goes, and then they get the penalty and tap go, and Sheehan scores. And you're like, what's just been said at half time? How can you've been absolutely humbled at home, and you were at one stage 22-0 down, and you found a way to get back into it tenuously at 22-7. I mean, I put £5 on England at 3-1 at half time. It's the worst bet ever. I just thought 3-1, we can't be that bad. We might nick this second half. Oh my God. I want my money back. I actually did win money yesterday, but that was the worst, close to the worst bet in living memory. at half time. I just thought, this is it. This is Istanbul. There's a speech at half time going on right now. Borthwick, Blackett, Wigglesworth, El Abd, McGuigan, they are tearing them limb from limb. Never mind that. The captain, the coach, the players have shut the coaches out of the changing room, and we're going at it. And they're actually having a fight. They're fighting, which I don't recommend, but it used to happen at Leicester at half time.
Yeah.
You're fighting amongst each other
But
to try and fix it.
Are we right in saying that it feels like this team needs a bit of that? Does it? Or
they're desperate needs it.
It needs it, doesn't it?
Yeah. And
let's. We've been talking about this for a long time. Should we do a very quick piece on on breakdown and attack?
Yeah, the breakdown. We just got smashed at it. I sort of counted the ball presentation. So we're all good scrum halves. We'll say the way you carry into contact as a forward. Ideally, you carry to an outside shoulder. I don't want to use the word sealing off, but it's looked after. There's low. The ball is placed at a distance away. The incoming ruckers who are joining it are aware of the ball. John Mitchell used to have to do rucking session after rucking session after. If you touched the ball arriving at a rucking session, we go again. Let the dog see the rabbit. Bang! Don't touch the ball. Don't touch the ball. And these guys, that's what they do the whole time. We were coming in, we were kicking it, the ball was bouncing out sideways, Mitchell was arriving, it was loose, popped over, they were steaming over the top. It's like just no possible chance of winning a game of rugby if your ball presentation is so careless like that. So that was what I wanted to talk about. And then attack, I know you'll go, we did create some chances. So if I looked at, we did occasionally play at pace and a comfortable team when it was still, I think it might have been 3-0 at the time to Ireland. 12th minute, Pollock had a little burst, Gunge had a little run, Ollie Lawrence up the right-hand side had a little one. We have a 6-on-4 and with a comfy backline. Say 6-on-4, it's not guaranteed a score. 6-on-4, 5 metres out, the France score. They do. They score. And with a comfy backline, we walk in. We just run into more traffic. Bang, run into more traffic. When we go out the back play, we have a play where we have George at first receiver, and then we'll have two forwards. One forward, the outside forward will run hard. They'll both run hard, but the outside forward will lead it like a corridor. Can you imagine that? So outside forward leading, inside forward just a little deeper, and you can hit either. We play through them to get to a back then, and then we try and play there. Then nothing off that. Then it just becomes a flat. There was one moment where you paused it. We had a line of 6. I mean, again, I'm really careful to be facetious anyway. If I saw that on a Tuesday night at Maidenhead, I'd stop the session and go, what we do? That's level 5, and by the way, we're down the bottom. You'd stop the session and go, what's happening? 18th minute, Arundel has a nibble, Freeman has a nibble, Genge has another nibble. We're 5 metres out. We're putting them under pressure. They've got 10 Irish defenders inside their 15-metre line. 10 Irish. They've got 5. We've got 4 in there, 5 in there. So it's a 10v5. And pitches at Twickenham is 70 metres wide. So that's within the 15 metres. So we've got 55 metres and we've got a 10v5. We have a terrible upright forward carry. Chance gone, slowed down, ruck, reform, knock on, gone. And it's just... So there is... Again, I know you always say I'm sort of overly positive on England. I can't find any positives other than Joe Hayes. In terms of that, and I promise you, I just wanted. That's why I just wanted to be careful. And I've watched it 4 times. So I watched it live.
Yeah. I
watched it again. Just don't want to watch it through. Then I watched it from an attack perspective, only looking when we've got the ball. And I watched it again from a defensive aspect. My missus came down at midnight last night and says, "What are you doing, Joseph? You're not even involved in this team." And I go, "I just love my sport, and I'm watching a team I love
that is the sort of detail I think we need to sort this mess out. So you're gonna hate this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm going to fast forward. So I genuinely believe that we are going to struggle to beat Italy in Rome.
Yeah.
And I thought that actually before the Irish game, and I believe it even more. And I'm going to go further than that. I think Italy are favourites to beat us in Rome because I think that they are a much better side.
What odds will you give me?
I'm not very good at odds, but I just think they're favourites.
Right. So therefore, England are second favourites.
Yeah.
So if you're second favourite in a 2-horse race, you're at least 2-1.
Okay.
So will you give me 2-1?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think Italy are favourites to win in Rome, which whether you think I'm right or wrong, is quite a startling sort of feeling. And I suppose my question accelerating that is on where we are. Should England lose in Rome and get beaten in Paris, and we've won one game of this,
massive pressure off the field. Because Paris, because the reality is you then go 4 defeats on the trot. You then go South Africa away. I know it's not a conversation I really want to have right now.
There we go. I knew that, but nevertheless.
No. What I'm saying is because I don't want to talk. Being involved in this for too long. It is a monumental game against Italy. You watch how other teams. You watch what the All Blacks did to Scott Robertson, really on the back of the bad defeat they suffered against South Africa, when points down they decided to try and chase it rather than limit the damage. They got beat by 30 odd. Man, that was then the powers that be went after him, and he's a good man. He's a great coach. We lose to Italy. There are jobs on the line.
Yeah, and just to back up what I'm saying about Italy, because there might be some people listening to this pod going, "This little man's just talking nonsense," and it's
can't tell you little because you sat down.
It's not backed up by anything. But the reason that I think Italy go into that game as favourites is on numerous levels. So I think the Italian side at the minute have got a real identity. So I think they fight so hard for each other, and I think that was very, very evident even in a French defeat today. The other thing is that I actually think they've got a superb defence, really, really good defence. They're good in the air, so that game that England actually like to play, I think Italy can counter that really well. And I think the motivation for Italy, England are the only side that they are yet to beat. I think that they see that game. I think they will have targeted this game of all the games in the Six Nations, and therefore they will be absolutely gunning for it. And on the flip side, England have conceded 73 points in 2 games, and whatever happens are at a low ebb at the minute, whereas I do not feel that for Italy. So those are the reasons that I think that Italy go into that game as favourites. Now, I know they're not with the bookies. In fact, they're what did you say they were? 5-1?
4-1. England is sort of 5-1 on to win that. The bookies would base it historically on the fact that Italy have never won either home or away against England. And they were horribly wrong last week. They had England as favourites to win by 10 points, and they had Scotland to win by 20 odd points. And we saw how all these games, which we'll talk about.
We're going to move on now to the other teams, but whatever happens over the next 2 weeks, I suppose the big thing for England is about reaction, because I suppose the most depressing thing for me was not seeing any type of reaction against Ireland. We've got Marrow, 100 games. It feels like every motivation there is to go out there with energy, with passion, with all the stuff that we kind of expect, and we simply didn't see it. And if we do not see that in Rome,
yes,
I do think that we will get beaten.
It's a valid and fair argument.
Yeah,
that's difficult to counter on the back of the last
two.
But
you still believe England will win. You are very strong on that. You said at the start, no, I think England will win.
Yeah, I do. I think.
Why? What evidence are you basing that on?
26 years or of playing Italy
Good.
home and away,
history.
of seeing a shirt and knowing that you win. And we've talked about what that Scotland has it. Certainly Ireland has it when they play the white shirt. And I have to feel that the desperation that has been missing. I've always been terrified of a desperate man. Beware the man who can go no lower. And what might happen were they to lose. Look, we're going to talk about Italy, and there's so much to like about what they do. But if they can't win a line out like they couldn't against France, then they can't beat England.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And England hopefully will go after them in the line out. And so, yes, there are lots of reasons why they can. It's a sort of hypothetical argument we have. I do not see England losing to Italy, but I can understand, and this is why I love. It's just opinions, right? It's me and you. You watch as much rugby, not quite as much rugby as me, but you love your rugby, and you watched it a lot, and you called it. You thought Ireland would beat England, and they did. So therefore, absolutely spot on. I don't know where or what I'm basing it on. I just do not think it'll happen.
Look, by the way, I hope you're right. I genuinely hope you're right. I'm not here saying that I want England to lose. I really don't. But my gut instinct says that it's going to be a very, very tough game. Yeah. And I think Italy. I think you're downplaying Italy's motivation to win that.
Changes.
Slightly.
You want to talk about that before we move on, or are you going to leave that to the end? What you might do with England?
Yeah, no, I think actually, yeah, we've got to talk about some changes, because you did say that there have to be some radical changes.
Yes, I think Greg Fizzler has to come in at 8. We saw Doris, we've seen Jalonche, we've seen Wainwright, we've seen Canone, we've seen proper 8 over the course of a weekend. Which number 8 have I missed out?
Did you just touching on Pollock, because
it's all right.
I thought he had a pretty good game. I mean, out of everyone on the pitch, I thought he had a pretty good game.
Brings energy, and he's after the chip he scored against Bordeaux Begley. You sort of don't hold it against him. He had one slight daft chip up the right hand side.
Yeah,
but you're like, well, you've created a lot out of nothing soft. He get up there. He was involved in the move to nearly put Freeman away. Oh, just on one thing, just on the attack again, just to understand how bad it became. Again, at left-hand side, we had them under pressure. George goes to the line. He knows he's got Henry Pollock out the back, and Ding will come short. And it goes to Henry, but Marcus is sort of sees space, and Marcus gets in front of Henry. Bang, moment gone.
Yeah.
And you go, and that happened up the left-hand side with Henry Arundel. It happened up the left-hand side time and time again with Ben Earl. When Ben Earl dropped it, when we're losing, we needed to go from deep from a scrum. We go from deep, actually from a turnover. We go from deep. He gets in front of anyway. Pollock was okay, but I've always talked about rugby being the celebration of difference. Not going to change there. And at the moment, we're too samey. In our back row, too samey, sort of 3 players who do very similar things. And by the way, they do similar things, and they're all supposed to be 7s, and we got 1 turnover. So it's. There's no doubt Tom Willis will be playing, but he's not available. I do think you've got to. You look at the caliber of number 8s doing a number 8's job, and what I talk about a number 8. I don't want number 8s in the wide channels. I don't want you in the wide 15-metre channels. I want you like Doris. I probably don't want you wide. Let's say, imagine there's a lines drawn between, the posts, obviously, the left-hand post and the right-hand post. Draw 2 lines up the middle of the field to the other posts at the far end. I'll probably say go 5 metres either side. And say, number 8, just fricking operate in there. Just own that space. Just boss it. And Doris, he deviated and he went slightly outside channel. Spent his entire game, bang.
Trucking it up.
Bang. But not just trucking it up, then offloading. And actually, in the wider channel, it was his offload that ends up with the Tommy O'Brien try. So, yes, he did go in the wide, but that's what I want my number 8 to do. So, and Fizzle, and here's the risk, right? Because obviously we've then talked about the pressure. And I've talked about the Praetorian Guard. And under pressure, Farrell went to his guys that have delivered. Borthwick's now in a hole. and he needs to find a win. So does he go to the guys who've given him 12 wins but have lost the last 2? Or does he go, I need to change and bring people in? You'd like to think, well, we would change it. But by the way, Campo, it's easy for us to say. We're not under pressure to win, and therefore the ramifications of losing in Italy and what might happen with that. I think Physicality has to start at 8. I would start, I assume Mitchell's going to be injured, Van Portfleet and Finn Smith. I'm still unsure of the midfield, because it's difficult to judge the midfield when you play a kicking game. I talked about this last week. What's the point in picking Dingwall if you're just going to kick? If you're not playing and he's not getting multi-touches, we're judging him on the wrong thing. So I don't argue with Dingwall staying. I think there's an argument to bring a Jomo in. A Jomo and Lawrence, and put the Bath centres together. I think Roebuck comes back in. And if George Furbank is anywhere remotely near 100% fit, he has to start fullback. It's harsh on Marcus, but Marcus would be involved in the 23.
He's the ultimate bench player, isn't he, Marcus?
Yeah.
I mean, he really is.
Yeah, made a few things happen. He came on just before half-time. Little nibble, little dabble. We nick a try back. He gets the intercept, doesn't quite have the juice to go. I had him. He was my super sub in Fantasy League. Never have I cheered so gutted with the McCluskey tackle. Yeah. Cost me like 1 million points. The worst one was Jalibert. Everyone had Jalibert. And he pulls out with a calf, right? Yeah. And because they played Ramos at 10, there was no other option. You had to pick Garbisi as fly half. So everyone who had Jalibert is just furious. They're spitting feathers that the system is wrong, that you can't change that, and Ramos should be viewed as a 10. And
we're going down a fantasy.
It's brilliant, but everyone's playing it.
Yeah,
and it was genius. And it wasn't a massively high scoring weekend, because however much you would have said, no, the Irish are going to win, so few, you look at the Fantasy League, so few people pick the Irish lads. They were like, yeah, I think they could win, but I'm still not putting them in my Fantasy League team.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
By the way, I backed Ireland, but only to win by less than the winning margin I got wrong. So I think it was below 15 points or something, and they go and walk it. So, there we go. Terrible. So I'm a terrible better. Okay, look, let's...
Where were we? The changes. So, Genge stays. Probably Finn Baxter would start, but he's not fit. So again, stays. I don't know where they go. I think they have to go Jamie George and top arrows, darts, put Italy under pressure.
What did you think about that? I mean, it's very rare that you see. By the way, it happened in 2 games this weekend. So we had Gregor making subs before halftime, and we had Borthwick pulling off.
And Eddie Jones did to Luther.
It did, but it's still rare. So I'd love your thoughts on that sort of.
If I can go down memory lane super quickly, 2004, I was on a bench, and Henry Paul was starting, so he started in the centre, so experimenting. So I was on the bench. I promise you, I got a tap on my shoulder. What minute of the game do you think I got a tap on my shoulder saying you're going on?
Well, I mean, 20th?
7th.
7th minute.
I didn't go on in the 7th. I think I went on in about the 14th.
14th minute?
Yeah, it was an extraordinary, it was almost, I'm not sure Henry played for England again. But it was that, so it's, and Eddie's done it a couple of times. I think Timana Harrison maybe might have been, but he's done it. He did it in Japan, didn't he? To Danny Kerr, Alex Lazowski. With 2 others, they didn't play. I think Danny may have got another England cap years later, but not with Eddie. 4 of them never played again. It's tough to watch. It's tough to watch when you get hooked. But I do think
but you
there's
think
a fear that you have
justified. That's a decision that you would have made. Because I kind of give Borthwick some credit there, because I'm like, you know what, something's not working, and at least he's gone, hang on a minute, this is...
You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Yeah.
And you make those early substitutions, it doesn't work, and you go, what are you doing that for? Why didn't you keep Freddie on and put Marcus on at 10? That sort of thing, and all sorts of things when it goes wrong. But No, I have no issues with early subs.
No. Okay, fine. Right, let's move on. Because we've spent a long time dissecting that game, and we needed to spend some time because it was genuinely extraordinary. A world record score for Ireland, and I think
Can't have a world record score.
Well, whatever, a record score.
Yeah.
Well, they're part of the world.
It's just a nonsense statement.
We're going to drop world.
Yeah,
we'll drop world. A record score for Ireland.
Good, yeah.
So well done to them.
Yeah. They were awesome. They were absolutely awesome.
They were, weren't they?
Most wins by another side of the Six Nations are Twickenham now. 6 for Ireland. Everyone else is on 2. So since Six Nations began.
Wow. So that's a great stat from Connor there, producer Connor, who says that's the most wins any Six Nations sides had at Twickenham.
But they're just extending their most because they were already 3 clear of everyone else.
Yeah. Good run.
Yeah, incredible. And it just shows you they don't fear coming to Twickenham. And I think a lot of that would come, so many different reasons. Off the top of my head, Leinster, so comfortable beating English sides in Europe, coming over here and winning, that fear, it's England are relatively good against the All Blacks. We've lost the hack of fear. We don't start 15 points behind. No matter how bad we are, we still beat the All Blacks. And we did again in the autumn. And Wales haven't beaten them since 1953, and Scotland have never beaten them. And Ireland had a 4-year party when they beat them in Chicago. And then since then have beaten them a couple of times. So, yeah, it's taken away. Once you remove the myth that you can't, I think Munster in Europe, in the old Heineken Cup, did they go 12, 15 years unbeaten at home? And then once they lost once,
it was gone.
Yeah.
The hoop was broken.
Yeah.
Okay, look, that's a good segue into Wales versus Scotland. And I just want to have a little moment actually talking about the Six Nations as a whole, because what a tournament. You know, the fact that Scotland defeat England so comfortably the week before, England have smashed Wales the week before that, and yet we're now going to talk about a Welsh side that had every chance of nicking that game in Cardiff. And it is an extraordinary tournament in terms of that topsy-turvy nature of it.
Yeah, a lot of it, as always, so much history, but also it's not a home and away.
Yeah.
You don't rest and play, and we'll send a second team on our away trips, but we'll win our home trips. You have certain odd years and even years where you play all the Blues at home, all the Blues away. Wales hadn't won at home, or the last home win was against Scotland. Therefore, psychologically, go, this is it, and go so close. Italy now are supremely competitive. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a wonderful time. Look, the argument is the Rugby Championship guys, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, will say, well, ours is pretty good as well. And by the way, we have 3 of the best 5 teams in the world. So stop going on about your Calcutta Cups. But it does. It's the ability to go back to the black and white days, the history, the old school tries. They always replay it on the BBC or ITV, whoever's got it on. They bring it all back, right? And it takes you back to one's youth. So it's a fabulous tournament and should continue to be celebrated.
So let's talk about Wales, because I suppose the hoodoo still exists for them because they didn't get over the line.
Yeah.
But the atmosphere was magnificent and they were so close, and they played brilliantly, Greens, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. There was so much of what they did to like. Eddie James in the middle, love him. Man in the back row, Wainwright's a worldie. Daffy Jenkins, his work rate. Rhys Carrier can't stop scoring. Dowie Lake's back to his best. Lewis Rees-Zammit is sharp. Yeah, Gabriel Hemingway on his debut had his nose put across his face in the first minute and kept chasing and running. The breakdown was good. They played, they had tempo. Sam Costello's gutted for him with his going off with his knee, stepped up, kicked his goals, gave it some rhythm, gave it some flow. there's so much good stuff. And then the converse factor that everyone, all the memes last week were going around Scotland against England with this like massive hulked up kilt wearing geezer who weighed 150 kilos, and Scotland against the next team after the Calcutta Cup with a sort of skinny Montgomery Burns star character. And there's so much to respect for those guys to have gone 20 points to 5 down and find a way to get back into it. It was a great game of rugby, and I left Twickenham supremely miserable. But I managed to get back in my car quickly, and I got back for the second half, and then obviously watched it again after that. And I've got a quirky one. So I want to know whether it's a world rugby regulation or someone at the WRU is quietly saying to the ball boys, please don't get the ball to the halfway line quickly after a penalty. So if you got it at home and Wales kick the penalty to go 23-12 and Scotland then score from Darcy Graham, but they couldn't have scored if there wasn't a ball.
Yeah.
The most enthusiastic ball boy ever sprints on quickly, ball on the spot, Bryn Russell picks up and kicks it. Couldn't have done it without a ball.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh.
It's like a Mourinho moment.
Yeah, it's like, oh, no, stop. Don't put the ball there. So I thought Wales, look, I actually thought Scotland deserved to win it. I thought Wales gave their fans something to get behind. Again, Thomas Williams just darting around everywhere. They were all working so hard for each other, scrambling in defence. Had so much to admire about their performance considering where they've been. But the composure of Scotland to go behind, to keep playing. Darge, decent man of the match. Yeah, a lot of turnovers, good. Thought Finn Russell was absolute class. Just looked around like he was walking around in a pair of slippers. Just comfy and not feeling the pressure. What's in front of me? What I'm going to play? When shall I strike? When shall I fizz? When do I kick? Super good. Early hookings, as you say, from Gregor that made a massive difference. Bayliss off the bench, outstanding in the back row. What an athlete he is. Tuipulotu missed a lot of last year, or certainly the autumn series, and I think he missed the 6 Nations last year and got back fit to go on the Lions. That Russell-Tuipulotu combo just looks lethal. You don't know where they're going to take you. Staines' work rate. The back three, I've talked about England's back three being so bad and disconnected. The symbiotic nature that the Jones... I know it's not their back three. There was a moment where they were under pressure and they were disconnected, and then they suddenly reconnected. Hugh Jones, Steyn, Kinghorn, and suddenly the moment was gone for Wales. That under pressure, that ability to connect. Scotland's line out wobbled, but one of the stats is the last half hour. Scotland won the last half hour 21-3. They are 20 points to 5 down, 50 minutes on the clock. They are singing their hearts out at one of the, for me, the greatest rugby stadium on the planet. You're thinking, this is done. And Russell was waiting and watching. He was like the sea snake in Gladiator, just letting the opponents have a little nibble at him, inviting them on, and then bang, strikes, and putting players into space. And eventually, on the back of that, putting so many players into space, they start marking the players in space, and he then walks in and scores himself. It was absolutely...
God, how many phases was that? Was that a try as well? Extraordinary, wasn't it?
It was so good. So good. Wainwright, I've talked about him. Both of them was brilliant off the bench, but will just oh, poor kid.
It's the try.
It happens, right? He was in the same house as me from school, so I'll never say a bad word about a lad from Evans House, Sebba. Most important connection you'll ever have in life. And he's been 5 years in a boarding school with people. Couple of moments at 23, 26, you just go again on the detail. It's a Scottish line out and you're 3 behind. Surely you compete in the line out. surely you throw front and middle up and say, Scotland, you got to throw this to the tail, because if it's not straight, we'll take the scrum. And by the way, you might not have called not to the tail, you might have called to the middle, we could nick it. Just in key moments. And again, bringing it back to the minutiae.
No, it's
There was just a
super
couple
important.
of moments.
Super important, those moments.
Just, you got to throw someone up.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And do that. But, well, look, it was really decent performance from Wales. Tough gig next time. I think they're on a Friday night in Dublin.
Yeah.
Scotland, I've still got them at 14-1, by the way,
Yeah, I know.
to win the championship.
And again, I'm going to loop
They've
back to
got
where
France at home.
I'm going to loop back to where we started, really, in terms of this competition, because when you look at Scotland and that defeat in Italy, and now you look at them sitting second in the table, again, I'm not sure there'd be many people sitting here that would have said that that's where it would have been. And let's just fast forward very briefly to Scotland versus France in a couple of weeks' time.
I always thought Scotland would be either England or France, not both. And like bugger, they've won one,
Yeah.
so right that to win the champion.
But they're capable.
Yeah,
You know, they are.
and they'll
capable.
watch the way Italy played against France, and they'll go, here are our chances, and it's sort of a free hit. That win in Wales from 20 points to 5 down, that win against England, it's a big 8 days. I mean, I can't imagine for a coach what it's been like for Gregor, because you sort of think it's 3 weeks. It's not 3 weeks. It's been 14 days from start to finish. It's sort of, that's how quickly it went.
Yes.
And the pressure of losing to Italy, everyone wanting you thrown out on your ear, a Calcutta Cup game, you play brilliantly, then you go to Cardiff and you're watching the first 15, 20 minutes unfold, and you're 20 points to 5 down with 50 minutes on the clock, and you're going, this is what we always do. I've got a lot of Welsh friends, but I was really pleased for Scotland to back up and go again, and they go to they host France, and they're in this championship.
They're banging this championship. I mean, I do not think it's a ridiculous idea that they beat a magnificent French team at Murrayfield. I just feel that this tournament it just throws up these results all the time. It really does. It does throw up these results.
However, France are 15 points from 3 games.
Yeah.
What happened in Lille? It's Lille for starters. It's not Paris. So it didn't.
God, it looked amazing.
It is, yeah. Did we go to Lille for Irish ferries?
We did, didn't we?
That's where we got the Irish ferry over.
Yeah.
Jalibert pulls out. Ramos goes to 10. I know he scores. He threw an intercept. Doesn't quite look. He's not a 10.
He did a very good job, mate.
Yeah, but it's not as good as having Jalibert at 10 and a fullback.
Yeah.
That's two playmakers in it, and Atis Sogba then goes through. Suddenly Atis Sogba's at fullback. Hell of an athlete. Just looked uncomfortable. Lost some of the aerial battles, tricky ones. Italy were on him. Jalibert is playing rugby from the gods at the moment. He's taken out. So it was just a couple of instances that gave Italy some self-belief. And actually at 19-8 at half-time, and 19-8 well into the second half, to get to 19-8, they'd scored 2 breakaway tries. A tap down with Dupont at the left-hand side, kicks it through. Yeah. No one stops LBB. 8 games on the trot he scored in the 6 Nations. And then the third one, of course, Italian line out on the French 22 over the top. The classic bouncing ball. Everyone's looking at it. Doesn't see Gaeton through. Ramos scores. They're 19-0 up, but they got 2 from nothing. 3 visits, 3 tries. Other than that, heck, I know you can't say other than that. Ifs, coulds, and shoulds don't exist in sport. But Italy were really competitive. It's just the impact of the French bench to be able to. I was listing their second row options to go to Scotland. They can start with Meafu and Flamand, or they bring back Olivon and Gouillard. The back row. In the centre, we thought, how are they going to cope without Mofana and Deporter? And Broboirie and Gaeton look unbelievable. And they bring Barassi off the bench. Gorge is injured. you're like, oh my
incredible.
God, it's incredible depth that they have, the venom they have to their defence. They weren't as good as they have been in the first half, and yet found themselves comfortably in front. Italy put them under pressure, and they bring on some superhumans in the back end of the second half and take the game away from Italy to win pretty convincingly 33-8. So on the back of that, you'd say but Italy were good.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
That's my point. Italy were good.
They pressed hard in the midfield. They played. They under Quesada, they don't go back to a kicking game. They don't try and make it a set piece battle. The scrum was strong. They look to play with pace. They press the midfield hard. I know that they're missing Brex, but Marin was almost man of the match.
Yeah, he was great.
For Italy at 12, so their strength in depth. I like the scrum half is Fusco, although he got lifted and dumped by Dupont. How good was Dupont?
Oh my God, I was just about to talk about him because I'm a broken record with him, but there was one moment with Dupont. I can't remember whether it was the first or second half, but it was basically caught inside his 22.
Second half.
Was it second half? Yeah. And I don't know how he got through those 3 or 4 tackles, but he did, and then released LBB outside him.
Yeah, 3 tackles, offload on the floor.
It was genuinely extraordinary.
You've got him until you haven't. It's like pinning jelly to a wall.
Yeah,
you sort of go and it's gone.
And his kicking game is so consistently good. His long kicking game and his box kicks, both magnificent.
Connection-wise, Sean did the pre-match interview, didn't he? It was, as always, effusive about the opposition, quite right, about how good they are. But that steely glint and that smile, you just think, oh, he's enjoying being in French camp. There was one kick chase and counter-ruck from, I think their average age might be 21, Gaëtan, Jégu and Broboiry. And their ability to kick long, it wasn't a great kick, to reconnect, 5-metre spacings, to force Capuozzo through a channel that they want him to go. Gaëtan chops him, Broboiry, Jégu, straight through and over, bang, away. Just all the little bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Were quite outstanding at key moments, and that was without Jalibert. So they are, I think now they're 14-1 on to win the championship, and 5-1 on to win the Slam. They are, and quite rightly deserve it. They've been magnificent. The frustration, I think, for everyone was Italy had a 60% line-out. You just feel at 19-8, they had a couple of line-outs. Well, one of them ended up with 7 points for Raps at the other end.
Yeah.
The line-out, just a couple of not straights, a couple over the tops, and just that set piece that cost Scotland and Italy. And in amongst it all, back to difference, in amongst it all, we want the ball in open play. That the brilliance of forwards and line-out coaches to bring variety, to go up 2-4-6, to peel, to come around the front, to do bounce-out plays. It's the beauty, and I go back to the chess, there's so many different pieces that do so many different things on a rugby field. And if your particular pieces don't function or get taken out early, you find yourself on the back foot, and that's why we continue to love the game. I'm
just going to pick out one player for Italy who I thought was extraordinary, was Capuozzo, who I would say this round of Six Nations was my man of steel. He got absolutely battered.
Do you remember who by?
And time
first
again.
2 high balls, Drehan hit him, and then Jalonche hit him in the first 3 minutes. He was crumpled, wasn't he?
It was absolutely crumpled. But
I hope he's all right because he went off injured.
He kept going. Well, yeah, he did, but not until right at the end. He should have been off after 30 seconds.
Scored one, decent.
Yeah, I thought he was magnificent. He's an amazing player.
Menoncello looked tough. Lorenzo Canone at 8. They look good, right?
Yeah,
they look really good.
Really good. So are you now with me then? Italy versus England.
No,
still with England.
No, yeah, and this is from a kid who lived there. I'd love to, but not in 2 weeks' time.
No. Right, Rugby Mates. Well, we're going to be taking a break for the fallow week. I think everyone needs that break, and we are actually going to be recording our next podcast Saturday evening, straight after the games on what's the date?
March
lads, for
7th.
that? March 7th.
There's a game on March the 6th, the Friday night, and two games on the Saturday.
That's quite exciting because we'll get the pod out to everyone on that Sunday. It's been wonderful again. I've munched my way through a pizza whilst Greens has been talking about Romans. And
Can you remember?
No.
Okay, quick test. Who did Napoleon have?
Who did Napoleon have?
His old guard. Who
No,
did the Caesars have? Can you remember who?
No. I was
The 10th
sort of glazed over.
No, you glazed over. Don't listen to that stuff.
Oh no! Listen, I know there's an audience for it.
Right. It's just
It's
not
fine.
you.
No, just not me. No, I was thinking about my next question. Look, really enjoyed it as evergreens. Lovely way to spend a Sunday night. Thanks to our lovely audience, and we'll see you next time.